This week I learned the 24-hour bug is better than the flu, but it still really sucks. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update, guys, as we are headed closer to the holiday season here in the States. Kids are counting down the days until school ends, and I still got to go to work, so I can't really celebrate with them. But hey, it is a fun week that we're going to talk about here on the channel. All real life things aside, but there are some stuff that did happen, like I kind of alluded to there. I did get sick this week, and it kind of slowed me down on some things, but some other things have kind of picked up for different reasons, and we will talk about those today. And we'll begin, guys, by talking about what am I reading. Well, while I was laid up in bed for 24 hours, I did pick up Pillars of the Earth and really dig in, guys. I'm almost to the halfway point now. Not quite. I mean, it's when you're on page 500 and you're not even at the halfway point. You're either reading a Malazan book or a Ken Follett book, I believe. That's kind of how it feels. But my memory on this is correct, guys. This book, very good. And I think what I said in my book haul I did earlier this week that I felt like it's not going to be a book that clicks for everybody because it is historical fiction, and we know how things were very different almost 1,000 years ago in our and just the way that humanity acted. And he does put you in the head of William Hanley, which is a very vicious villain in this series. And it's something when you're in this character's head. It's very disturbing, and Ken Follett does not ever turn the camera away. So I think it's going to be one of those books that might be tough for some people to read. But again, I think if you go into, it's like saying going into a horror book and then being upset that it scared you or it upset you. I think you go into a historical fiction book knowing about a lot of the atrocities that happened in that time period. Don't be surprised when you read them, because Ken Follett is not here to kind of glaze over some of those not so nice things about the way that life was in 12th century England. But yeah, very great book. I mean, I'm just continued to just rip through the pages. Even though I was sick, I was still just blowing through it. Sure, I kept falling asleep, but I kept coming back to it when I would wake up. And that's not because of the book. That's because I was sick. Yeah, just so many great characters. Prior Philip, one of the greatest people, literary figures, and like that, he's just a good person, obviously. And it's just things that in my memory are still there, but there are some other things I'm like, I thought that it happened differently than this. So, when you take a 27-year break in between reads of a book, things are going to be a little different, but a lot of the things that made it really special, they are still there. Besides that, I've still been working on this. This, guys, I'd say probably about similar place as I am with Pillars. It's a little shorter, I mean, it's only 700 pages. But again, there's not much I can say because I'm embargo and stuff, guys. But I'm just saying it's delicious. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving kind of just visiting this world again. Some of the I always talk about the bad language and stuff that Jay Kristoff uses, and I had someone recently be like, I don't know why you like them books with them bad language in it, because I'm a 12-year-old at heart, and we like bad language. It's just the way that it is. Do I think it has to have bad language to be adult? Of course not. But I use bad language in my daily vocabulary, so it doesn't bother me very much. But the way he does it's humorous. But he also has those really poignant and meaningful things that characters say in his books that really just like, yeah, right on. I love it. So it's a fun adventure, and it's a weird comparison to make, guys. But I will say that the Empire of the Vampire series is giving me what I wanted The Witcher to be. And I know that's a really weird comparison, because where you had a monster hunter in that, you kind of sort of got that, but you kind of have that father. That was a total spoiler, so I have to go ahead and just cancel that out. I said that. But it has things in it that I wanted to see in The Witcher. They are happening in this book, and I'm very happy for it. And it happened some in the first book as well. So, again, guys, all I can really say is if you haven't read Empire of the Vampire yet, do so. Forget what you heard. Except what I told you, because that's the good stuff. Not really. I think you'd like Empire of the Vampire if you give it a chance. But, it's not a book that clicks with everyone. But I do love it. I am enjoying the sequel here. We started Son of Neptune, my son and I. She only had the bookmark in it because we only got about 10 pages and he fell asleep. So I was so excited to see the return of Percy Jackson at the beginning of this book that he fell asleep on me. And one thing is, I always tell him, hey, if you're too tired, we read right before bed. You're too tired, it's okay. Just let me know. I'm going to stop. But he was so excited for Percy to be back, he didn't tell me. Usually he always tell me, let's pick up there tomorrow. He didn't even tell me. So he falls asleep. And I read probably about 14 or 15 pages and I realize he's not reacting anymore, because he has his little commentary and his sound effects he does while I read it and stuff. I was like, you're asleep, aren't you? And he's like, yes. So we wouldn't get too far in it, but cool setup to where it started. Don't know. Like I said, I've been enjoying the Percy Jackson books, and my kid finally started to get into those new characters in the Heroes of Olympus, and you know, this one opens up with obviously his favorite in Percy, so he was very, very happy to see him. So I'll report more on that when we get a little further into it. How about what am I going to read, guys? As you can see, I'm halfway through two chunkers right now, so obviously that's probably all I'm going to be doing for the next week plus. I don't imagine I'm going to be finishing. I mean, I'm not even halfway on either book. They're both very, very long books. So, yeah, I think I'll still be working on those probably when we talk again next week. But say something crazy does happen and I just completely blow through one of these books. Tiamat's Wrath, that's the next Expanse book. That would obviously be the next up. I was so excited to get to that I almost did that one to kick off the month. But then I was just so excited to get back to Pillars of the Earth after talking about it so much that I did kind of skip in line there. But hey, it's okay because this way I think I can combine it to where I can do Tiamat's Wrath and then Leviathan Wakes, or Leviathan Falls. Leviathan Falls right back to back. And that would be the best way, I think, to finish the Expanse. But we'll find out. We'll find out. That's really it. That's all that and the Toll's all I got left for the rest of November. But again, I'm not even halfway through these two, so I'm pretty sure that's going to take the chunk of the rest of the month. How about this week on the channel, guys? I did some things, but like I said, I was completely belted by a 24-hour bug. It's been decimating my household. It got my youngest first, and then it moved on to my wife, and I thought for sure, okay, I'm going to go sleep on the couch. I don't want to get this. Routinely, 24 hours, it's amazing, and everybody's completely back to normal, and we thought it was gone. And then like 3 days later, my oldest is sick, and he stays home with me while I'm working from home one day. And again, I'm like, get back, demon. Doesn't get me. Then out of nowhere, Monday night, boom, I was recording my new series to put on my 2024 TBR in permanent ink. I was recording that video, and like while I was recording it, you can tell in that video like my energy drops because I could feel it coming. And I was like, oh no, please just be one of those things where you're old and you're tired and you're recording too late and you had a long day. Please just be that. I barely had turned the camera off before I went downstairs, and boom, I passed out, and it was bad. It was bad. So, but again, routine, 24 hours, you're completely back to normal. Such a weird thing. So, always better, like I said, than getting, either the flu or the virus that shall be named. But, hey, it's not fun for those 24 hours where it is full on, like almost like you got food poisoning. If you ever had food poisoning, you know that is the worst kind of pain. It's really, really bad. But I preluded to it there. The new series that I want to begin in 2024 in permanent ink. This is a series I started about 3 years ago. And it's ones where these are series I want to start, and these are series I'm going to start. I will always do both. Earlier in the year, I'll do one about, hey, these are series I'm thinking about doing next year, but I haven't narrowed it down yet. This is when I narrow it down. These are the ones that I will start. Not saying I'll finish, but these are ones that I will be starting. So I'm going to be kicking two really, really long series, Realm of the Eldlings, The Expanse, off of my list this year. So I got some openings for some new ones. Now, I don't think I'm going to be starting any... I say I'm not going to be starting any long series again, but then I do have Discworld on there, which is 41 books. But I'm treating that like I am Drizzt, where you can just kind of read it at your own leisure as it kind of works, because I believe it does have like little sub-series in there. But everybody tells me with Discworld, you can read them completely as standalones if you want to. So that one's why I'm on there. But there are several series on there I'm very, very excited about. There's been a couple that people were excited about that I talked about in the video, and then they found out they weren't complete, and they're like, oh, gosh. Well, for some of those, I'm like, hey, I wouldn't be starting if I wasn't very, very confident. I am a long-time Song of Ice and Fire sufferer, guys. I've been reading that book series since the year 2000. So I'm very, very hesitant to start series that I fear may never be done. The one I'm on there, the guy's writing the last book right now, the one that a lot of people were talking about. But lots of series that I've been really, really highly recommended that I'm going to be starting next year. And it's exciting times. Anytime I think you could start a new series, it's very exciting. You really look forward to getting into one of those new worlds, seeing if it's going to click with you like it has for others. I was having a conversation with a good friend recently, and she was saying, I feel like I've gotten all my heavy hitter series that I wanted to read, and I feel like everything I got left. I just don't want to waste any time on any new series that might just be mid, because I want to just get back and doing some rereads of series I know that I love. And I'm like, I can understand that, but for me, it's like, how do I find those new series I'm going to love? Like, if I had had that attitude, I felt like I would have never found Bound and the Broken, which I absolutely adore now. So I want to make sure I continue to try new series, even if they aren't ones that everybody and their mother has reviewed on BookTube. You know, I want to make sure that I do kind of dip my toe into other things, like how I've discovered like The Last War this year and gotten a lot of people to read that. It's how I originally found Sun Eater by Christopher Rockies. I just want to make sure I continue to try new series, and if they blow up later, cool. You know, if I can encourage more people to read them, that's obviously what I'm always going to kind of try to do here. I don't read a series just because I know that, you know, I'm just going to get a lot of clicks, guys, or else I would just review Wheel of Time over and over and over and over and over again. I'm not going to do that. I did have someone the other day ask me, are you going to do non-spoiler reviews for Wheel of Time books? No, I don't think so. Not at this point. I think that those old videos are there if you want to watch them after you read each one. That's great. I hate, you know, that people, their first experience with the channel will be watching those old videos, but I am happy that people still find comfort and value in those old reviews back when I first started the channel. It's very, very fun to know. October 2023 book haul, that was one I did after I recovered from that 24-hour bug. And book hauls always are just so much fun for me. I have a ton of fun doing that because you get to talk about a bunch of books you might not ever get the opportunity to talk about on the channel. It creates a lot of conversation because a lot of those books are things I haven't read. You know, that's what people have sent to me because they want me to read them and, you know, get lots of feedback in the comments. I get to put a spotlight on some independent authors and stuff. That's something I always like to help do. And it's just a lot of fun for me to say thank you to people for sending me such amazing things. Got a little wild at the end of that one. That's why in the thumbnail I'm wearing sunglasses. So for me, guys, that's wild. I don't do all the skits and the goofy stuff and the antics on the channel. So I feel like when I break out of that a little bit, hey, it's always something to be like, hey, what's going on with Mike? Is he drinking tonight? Just coffee, guys. It's always just coffee and not Irish coffee either. Although I'm not against that, you know, sometimes. You know, sometimes in December it's nice and cold and you don't have to work. You know, a little Irish coffee is not bad. But Mike's Media Reviews, me and my wife did get together that review of The Vanishing from 1993 now. A new episode of Post Credits. That's really all we got to do. You miss a complete day. You know, you lose a 24 hours. You know, it feels like you're behind in everything. And I already felt like I was behind this week on this channel. So I was like, I don't really have anything extra to do for Mike's Media Reviews right now, and we didn't watch anything, so we couldn't really ever do any more post-credit stuff. We did do Lights Out. That was like the last of our spooky season movies that we haven't actually reviewed yet, so we might still do that because that was the one my wife was most scared of. But I think we might just get back to actually watching and finishing Fall of the House of Usher, which we were really liking. We just ran out of, you know, time and days and stuff. But hey, long story short, my kid's grounded now, so he's going to be in my face a lot more because we've taken his tablet and his video games away from him. Isn't it funny? Because I think 2 weeks ago, I talked about how his grades were so great, and so I bought him that new Spider-Man game. Kids, they'll never learn, will they? They never will learn. How about a little bit of next week plans, guys? I got a couple of things on the schedule already. One of the things I do in November is I always do my new series I'm going to start in 2024, the Permanent Ink one, and I also do my standalones and palette cleansers for 2024. Now, this one's kind of a slippery slope because people all the time be like, that's a book in a series. How can you call that a standalone? Standalones and palette cleansers, guys, meaning it's books I feel like you can not necessarily treat as a standalone, but you don't have to read them back to back to back to back to back. You know, like a Dresden Files book or something. You call that a palette cleanser, right? Even though it is a book in a series. So some of these might be a little bigger, you know, and they might not be considered standalones, but they're ones like last year, I put Lonesome Dove on that list. Obviously, that's a book in a series, but I feel like it is a book that if you want to treat like a standalone, you can. So I wouldn't really call a, you know, 1,200-page book a palette cleanser, but, you know, it is what it is. So I'll be doing that video this week. Got lots of things on there. If you watched a couple weeks ago, you already know Shogun's going to be on there. That's going to be quite an event the first quarter of 2024. I got lots of fun plans for that coming up. And then, guys, I'm going to be bringing back the Stephen King Palaver, which is just a discussion where we talk about what brought us to Stephen King, why are Stephen King's writing so influential on us, what are your favorite Stephen King book stuff. These are non-spoiler discussions, so if you haven't read his books, you know, you're not going to get spoiled on anything, but we will talk about the things that Stephen King does, his devices, the kind of way that he writes characters, makes the stories that we love by Stephen King and what makes him influential to our life. My guest for this one is going to be the return to BookTube for Madison Goodyear, my good friend that I was talking about earlier, who was saying she's just going to do rereads right now. So I have been doing a Stephen King reread since I started this channel, so I can understand where she's coming from in that regard. But I'm very, very excited for her to, get back out here on these booktube streets and talk to her. Anytime that Madison and I get to talk, it's always a lot of fun. And anytime we get to talk on the channel, it's usually even more fun, because last time she was singing some song about Camelot. It was a lot of fun. But that was a talk about nothing. This is going to be a Stephen King palaver, and I'm excited to do it because when me and Madison first became friends, she hadn't really read very much Stephen King, and now I think she's read upward around 30 books by him. So I think that really, she passes the prerequisite to be on a Stephen King palaver, and I cannot wait to bring that series back because I can never get enough of talking about Cy King. How about a little bit of TV and movie talk before I go, guys? There are a couple of things. I guess the writer's strike ended. I don't know. I didn't really get into the details of that. It kind of happened, and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. It is pretty cool that the writer's strike ended, just a week after the Dune Part 2 movie was supposed to come out. Yay. Way to go, guys. So the live-action Zelda movie has been announced. Live-action Zelda. This could go good. This could go bad. I'm really, really stunned, because Nintendo was very, very protective of their IPs for a long time. They did not, after that Mario Brothers movie 30 years ago, they're like, forget it. We're not making any more movies. So they would never say, we're never going to let our movies be made. Then the Super Mario Brothers movie this past year came out. It was a big success. So everybody thought for sure, a Zelda movie's coming out. An animated Zelda. It's got to. It's got to be the next logical step for them. A live-action Zelda movie, but not animated, and not by DreamWorks or it was Illumination, actually. That's the ones who make that. This is going to be made by Sony, which already was like, brrr. That's a red flag. That's not a boner. What I say, guys, I will forever be 12 years old. But yeah, Sony is a studio I do not trust at all. I feel like the only good thing they put out was that new Ghostbusters movie and the new Spider-Man movies, which was with the help, collaboration with Marvel Studios. So I've never trusted them. And, it's Wes Ball. He directed The Maze Runner, which I thought was a really, really good adaptation. The first one. It was a really, really good adaptation. And Zelda, it's my favorite franchise in gaming. So I've dreamt about this since I was a kid, And now it's one of those things where I was like, I used to beg for adaptation to happen, and now I'm scared of it. And I did that video recently about why can't they get fantasy adaptation right. This might probably ultimately end up falling on that, just because I don't think Sony is a studio who ever realizes what they have. I mean, just look what they did with the Dark Tower. I don't think they have any clue. They're like, let's just, hey, cool, we got the name recognition, let's just slap it. I can't believe Nintendo would be letting them do this without retaining some form of creative control, because I just cannot see them allowing the Zelda IP to be bastardized, by Sony. Because, I mean, look at their Uncharted adaptation. I know a lot of people enjoyed that movie, and the people that enjoyed that movie never played the games, because Tom Holland, horrible pick for Nathan Drake. Mark Wahlberg as Sully, you're kidding me. Terrible, 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 terrible idea. So with this, I already saw the name. Hey, is Tom Holland going to be Link? Is Tom Holland the new Idris Elba? And what I mean by that is, every time there's a movie roll out, the internet immediately casts it. Every single role it comes out for someone that's under 30. Tom Holland. It's got to be Tom Holland. Yeah, Tom Holland would be a terrible, terrible pick. I heard someone float the idea of the kid who's playing Percy Jackson. Now, we haven't seen him play Percy Jackson yet, but I was like, okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. He might be a little young, so I don't know how young they're going. I was like, we don't know any details on this at all, except Wes Ball's directing it, and it's being made by Sony. Cautious wall of optimism. I think that's the way to do here. I'm glad it's finally getting made, but I'm scared they're just going to completely just ruin this movie that I've dreamt about since I was a kid. And it's probably me being a pessimist, just because I'm just looking at track record with Sony. I wish they would went the animated route and just made it the same way that they made the Mario movie and just had a good time with it. But, are they going to have Link talk? I don't know. I don't know how they're going to actually do this. We'll see, guys. Stephen King was talking about the Salem's Lot movie, the new one. It got shelved. I don't know if you guys know this. It got shelved. Completed. It's in the can, and they took it off the theater release list. Now they're talking about dropping it on Max. I think Stephen King wasn't thrilled about this, because I think he really did like what they had put together, and he was talking about the movie, saying that he thinks the reason they did this is, and this is going to have so many people being like, okay, boomer, with Stephen King for sure. And they might do it with me too, because I kind of agree with what some of the things that he's saying. Now, I haven't seen the movie, obviously, but some of the things he's saying is he thinks the reason they did it is because it's a classic slow burn horror movie. There's not a bunch of jump scares. There's not a bunch of, something exploding every 12 seconds. And you can tell he's kind of doing it in that Scorsese or Spielberg way, and taking shots at the MCU generation, saying they can't pay attention to a movie unless there's something exploding every 12 seconds. So, I mean, if you've read Salem's Lot, you know it's not that kind of story. It's a very, very scary story. But yeah, it's going to be a slow burn because you're trying to figure out the mystery of what's going on in this town. So, I mean, I just to see William Sadler playing Father Callahan, I want to see this movie. I do, even though I think they completely are just so bad at adapting Stephen King. But, you know, from what he's talking about with this, it sounds like this might be something I really would have enjoyed. But I don't know if we'll ever see it. I feel like eventually we will. I just don't know if it's soon. I don't know if soon would be the word. But yeah, I mean, if you're trying to sell a movie like Salem's Lot, which is a slow burn, you think, okay, look, I don't really know that you're trying to sell it to the MCU generation. Now, I feel like you want to get that younger audience in there to see your horror movie, you know, because they're going to be buying more tickets. But I think the name Stephen King still holds a lot of weight in that even the current generation, that's something that's been really, really great about Stephen King's legacy, is even the most modern generation, Stephen King's name holds a lot of respect when it comes to, oh, what does Stephen King come up with? You know, I think that's really, really powerful. So I think that people would be interested in seeing it alone for that. People bring up Dr. Sleep. Why didn't that do well? Because it has a horrible name. If they'd have called that The Shining Dr. Sleep or something, people might have been more interested. At least that's why I think it failed at the box office. It was critically acclaimed, and I think it was a wonderful, wonderful adaptation. But with this one, I feel like Stephen King's Salem Lot, I feel like that would sell. But, you know, a bunch of geniuses at Warner Brothers, man. You never know what can happen there. But I hope we do see it eventually. Guys, that's really all I got. Gaming talk, I know they did announce that they're going to be doing a trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6. That's going to be coming in December. Look, I've kind of gotten past that part of my gaming life. The Grand Theft Auto 5, I was playing it, and I was just like, look, it's an amazing game. It's like, I don't know this is my kind of game anymore. But I know that people are obviously very, very excited about this. What I'm really curious about is the world's changed in the last decade as far as gaming goes. And a lot of gaming developers are, for lack of a better word, guys, they're very, very soft now. They're very, very terrified of offending anybody. And a franchise like Grand Theft Auto, I don't think it can do that and survive. So I'll be interested to see if they just say, F it, this game's going to sell, 20 million copies anyway. So we're just going to make whatever we want and have some bad publicity, or are they going to water it down? I don't know. Be interested to see, but obviously that's going to be probably the most anticipated game of next year. I would imagine it would come next year. If they're going to do the trailer for it, I would imagine they're hoping to put it out next year. Who knows? Who knows? Rockstar is a studio that will, take time to get the game right, but it's been 10 years since Grand Theft Auto 5. Can you believe that? Wow. Wild, right? Well, guys, that was my week. What's your week looking like? Why don't you drop in the comments? As always, let me know what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you are playing, and I will talk to you there.